joining me. Um, Also, all of you who are watching today, thank you for watching. It is October, Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And at Elements, we wanted to offer a bit more than just a movement class. We are also sharing the journey of people in our community in hopes that those who have been diagnosed feel a little less isolated. Also, just normalizing the conversation and talking about breast cancer, and also to give those of us who are teachers more insight and understanding so we can be more supportive. So today we have Ann Thompson, and after completing her Bachelor's of Arts degree, Ann became a licensed massage therapist in 1993. She completed her gyrokinesis and gyrotonic training in the early 2000s. She's gone on to take all the specialized equipment, all the therapeutic courses, and more. And she is now on the gyrotonic master trainer track. Yay. She's also certified in neurokinetic therapy and is the owner of Gyrotonic St. Louis Central, which is a beautiful studio with over 6,000 square feet. And she's also an avid bike rider. So Ann, we're gonna delve right in. So I'd like to go back to the beginning and ask you, how did you actually get diagnosed? Did you have a suspicion? Were you going for a routine mammogram? And what was that initial diagnosis?
Well, thank you for interviewing me, number one. And I hope this helps others, number two. 3 years ago, I was diagnosed with stage 0 DCIS in my left breast, which means stage 0 is basically precancer. DCIS means ductal carcinoma in situ, which means it is in the duct. It is not going to go anywhere, thank goodness. I had a lumpectomy and I was cleared in both breasts. Originally, this was found through a routine mammogram, which I get every year, which I was getting every year. But then they said after the first initial diagnosis, you need a 3D mammogram, or excuse me, after the first mammogram, they said you need a 3D mammogram to confirm. Several biopsies later, which were very, very painful, I had the lumpectomy, and they actually got all of the cancer 3 years ago within the biopsy. So at the time of the lumpectomy, I had no cancer. We had no idea of how that would play out. We did not know that. But in the tissue sample, there was no cancer. Cleared for 3 years, October 2020, Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and I was incredibly aware. I had another mammogram, 3D mammogram, that came back suspicious on my right side. So my right breast had 2 spots that were suspicious, and again, several biopsies which were not comfortable. Later, they did diagnose me with stage 0 DCIS in 2 spots on my right side. Originally, I had no radiation on my left. They recommended radiation for 6 weeks every day on my left side on the first diagnosis. I denied radiation. The cancer that they found on my right side had nothing to do with my left side, apparently. So it didn't transfer over. It didn't grow to the other side. That doesn't apparently happen. It will come back on one side perhaps, but it didn't. It came onto the other side. And I again said, okay, now what do we do to eradicate this situation? I thought it was a lumpectomy. And my doctor at the time hemmed and hawed. She's an amazing surgical oncologist, by the way. Her name is Julie Morgentaler, and she is spectacular. Everybody in St. Louis knows her. She said, well, I recommend a mastectomy. I just about lost my breath and my cookies at that moment. And I said, there's got to be another way. There's got to be another way. There has to be another way to do this. And she said, No, really, we recommend a mastectomy. You won't have to have chemo or radiation that way. So I said, what about my left side? She said, well, if you want to think about a double mastectomy, that would eradicate any possibility of reoccurrence on your left. So I took a long, hard look at the situation, and I talked to many, many, many women who'd had mastectomies, who didn't have mastectomies after breast cancer, who had a lot of different information for me. And I talked to a lot of physicians and oncologists. And
Can I go back for a second? Now, when did you, at what age did you start getting mammograms? And was it because of a family history, or you just, routine, taking good care of your health?
I started getting mammograms at age 35, and it was routine. I was taking care of my health, no evidence of cancer, breast cancer in my family. My father did die of colon cancer, and there is a genetic link to colon and breast cancer. I do get routine colonoscopies as well because of that. No incidence of family breast cancer though.
That's pretty early.
35, yeah. And
Yeah,
that way I had a baseline. I'm now
a
53,
baseline.
so flip those numbers.
Yeah, there you go. All right. So when you first got your diagnosis, so the diagnosis, you kind of, because you had it 3 years ago, you had this was the second time you were receiving a diagnosis, and it was, I'm sure there was a lot of emotion around it, but it sounds like there was more emotion around the actual, what was the treatment was going to be this time. That was kind of more of a shocker. Yeah, is that right?
Huge, huge shocker. I never have had large breasts, and until somebody says you're going to lose one, you just, not you, but one perhaps, but I don't think too long and hard about perhaps losing one and perhaps not having your anatomy. So I thought long and hard about my diagnosis, my treatment, et cetera. I think I talked to about 15 or 16 people post-diagnosis. Some had chemo radiation, some just had mastectomy, went completely flat. Some had, one had what I chose, and I'll tell you what I chose when we're ready to discuss that.
So how did you find all these women?
I literally told everybody I knew that I had breast cancer, and I put it on Facebook, which was scary, but it was also very, very healing. Everybody that responded said, wow, I want to talk to you. Talk to my aunt, talk to my sister, talk to my mom. I am with you all the way. I am helping you with whatever you need. And had I not put that information out there in social media, I never would have received the heartfelt knowledge that I did. And it was scary to do that, but it was rewarding.
Yeah. So if you could go back and tell yourself something. So, well, the thing, you've been diagnosed twice. So the first diagnosis, what was your gut reaction on that in that moment when the first time?
Well, because it was DCIS stage 0 and I was doing a lumpectomy, it was, my oncologist was very, this is, you're going to be in and out the same day. It's no big deal. You're going to heal, take a week off. You're going to be fine. You'll have a little scar. Honestly, the biopsies were worse than any surgeries. I'll tell you more about my double mastectomy in a little while, but the biopsies were the worst part. I tend to pass out when somebody puts a needle in my breast, and they did that several times. So I would pass out every time they did it, and I would warn them. I'm gonna go, I'm gonna pass out. So this is the scariest part of this situation. I was under anesthesia for both surgeries, so I have no recollection of the surgery.
Right. Well, let's get into surgery. So I know reconstruction is a very personal decision. So I appreciate you being willing to share your experience. So go for it.
Okay. I'm going to be very, very, very open here. Okay. I don't have much to
All for
hide. Pretty much everybody's seen my breasts. I'm not going to show them today. But
it.
I talked to my husband. I've been married for 12 years. And I talked to my husband about this decision. He was with me every step of the way in every doctor's appointment, every step of the way. And his name is Chris. And I don't know if I could have done this without him. I'm getting a little choked up about that because he was really incredible. My decision was very clear one day when I walked out of the bathroom and I said, I parted my breasts and I said, this is what I would look like flat. And he went, and that was all I needed to hear. I said, I'm not going flat. I've never been one to think that an implant would be a good idea. In fact, I always thought implants were a bit vain. And I just never thought that I would be one of those people that would receive implants. They scared me, they made me nervous. And when I was offered the opportunity to direct to implant, nipple sparing, I was reconsidering that option. And that option became the best choice I could have made for myself. I talked to a lot of women. The first woman I ever spoke to about mastectomy said, I'm in my late 70s. I went flat, 2 scars, I'm good. And I said, are you married? What's your relationship status? I'm not married. Just go flat, you'll be fine. You know, it's different when you're in your 50s and you're married and you have a husband and it just feels different. And I feel like I'm in the prime of my life now. And I was offered this amazing reconstruction. Very few people get to be offered this opportunity. You have to have the right breast size. You have to have no cancer around the nipple. You have to have the right anatomy and smaller breasts, which I did. I had all of those things. And my oncologist immediately knew I was a candidate and said, nipple sparing, direct to implant, you are going to be fine. I was terrified still. Double mastectomy, I wanted them to match. One was going to be perfect and one was not going to be the same. So I wanted them to both be perfect insofar as they could be on my chest wall. Perfection is a silly word, but I wanted them to look alike. I interviewed, just for your knowledge, one plastic surgeon, and I did not like her at all. I had a bad experience. I was in complete shock when I walked in. She put her hand on my shoulder after 20 minutes of speaking to me and said, you know, I have other patients, right? And I just about lost it again. I was in tears talking to the plastic surgeon. And so I let that go. I said, no, I'm not going with you. I want another doctor who listens to me and who cares. And so I went with her partner, Dr. Terry McCadden, male. The first thing he did was sit down and say, tell me about you. And I did. I told him about me. And that was an eye-opening experience to have a doctor really care. Julie Morgan-Taylor cared, Dr. Terry McCadden cares, and I'm still very much in their care. My surgery was January 29th, 2020. I woke up from surgery with tape and drains and don't remember much. I remember very little in the hospital. Came home. My biggest memory the next morning was not being able to get out of bed because I couldn't use my arms. My pecs felt like they were completely worked out, like I'd never worked out before. And the surgery was a success. I am cancer-free that we know of. I am completely healed. And I can tell you that this wonderful machine behind me, this gyrotonic machine, started my healing journey.
So it sounds like social media was helpful. Were there any websites, pages, anything that you would really recommend either teachers or patients look at?
Yes. MD Anderson has a great website, and they talk about the process of mastectomy. They talk about what you might need in the hospital. I got a double mastectomy during COVID, and I didn't stay in the hospital, not one night. My surgery for a double mastectomy, removing all the breast tissue, reconstruction, sewing, what they did was place cadaver tissue in a pocket around and sewed it to my chest wall, which I was terrified would cause problems, but it didn't. They put the implant in a pocket, sewed the pocket back up, and put my breasts back over it with no breast tissue. So the scars I have are literally just under here, 2 drain holes, and those are the only scars I have. The tissue itself is completely gone, so I don't have any breast tissue to be worried about anymore. I do believe that this was the best choice for me. And the website, MD Anderson, did help me. My surgery took 2 hours and I was out that night. It was a huge snowstorm, January. My husband dropped me off and said goodbye at the front door because he couldn't come into the hospital. And he picked me up that evening. I was in recovery for about 2 hours, and that was it. I went home.
Oh my goodness. That's incredible.
It
So
was,
they removed the drains before you went home.
I had drains in, and they taught me how to release the drains, etc. But I went home with drains, and I kept the
Okay.
drains in for a record 2 weeks, and they came out.
Wow, that's incredible.
And she does say that it was because I was so healthy that those drains could come out. And at the moment of diagnosis, not everybody's going to do this, but at the moment of diagnosis, I became a vegetarian. I have since added back some clean meats to my diet, but nutrition was huge for me, And I have relied on a plant-based diet with a little bit of animal protein added back in. But I was a complete vegetarian from October 2020 through March 1st when I went back to work. I was really only out for a month. March 1st, I went back to work with a full schedule, which is about 8 clients a day now.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. That's amazing.
I know. And I literally, my doctors did tell me that within the first 6 weeks, I had to be T-Rex. So I couldn't move my elbows from my chest wall. I really was trying to see how much movement I could get. Within the first week, I was extending my arm on the handle unit. Within the second week, I was going all the way around with my arm on the handle unit. Within the third week, I was doing a full arch and curl. And full disclosure, within the fourth week, Adriana Thompson was here for Gyrokinesis Foundation, actually pre-training, not foundation, and I was participating.
That's incredible.
It was unbelievable. It was unbelievable, but I truly think that the myofascial work that I got through gyrotonic and gyrokinesis was invaluable to my healing. And I intend to tell both doctors that in the next month.
Yay. Wonderful. Anything else? So you got nipple sparing and you still have full sensation?
I have no sensation. And they told me that I would have no sensation. Now, when I say no sensation, I mean, I don't have original sensation. If I touch my chest, I can feel something, but it's mostly pressure. I don't have sensation. They said that wouldn't come back, which was for me okay. I didn't, I was saving my life. I was saving my brain and my mental capacity around this disease. And I would never have to have another biopsy or mammogram ever again in my life. So
Wow.
um,
Yeah.
I'm very happy with my decision. I do have some numbness on my right side. They did take what they call a sentinel node out of my right side so that they could tell if I had lymph cancer, if it had gotten into my lymph nodes. Nothing had gotten into my lymph nodes. Again, it was DCIS stage 0, 2 spots. And the reason I had a mastectomy was that it was in 2 spots. They couldn't do 2 lumpectomies because I wouldn't have any breast tissue left. So it was in 2 different spots. So they said mastectomy, and then I chose prophylactically to take care of the left breast at the same time.
Well, thank you, Anne. That's all the questions I have, unless there's anything else you want to share. This has been really helpful.
Thank you. I appreciate this. Grateful that you had this. I had this opportunity. I did speak with other trainers, gyrotonic trainers around the world, and some people who've had this surgery within the gyrotonic world. It's not my place to tell who that is. And they were also very helpful. I have friends around the world who've helped me, and I continue the healing journey. It hasn't even been a full year yet. So I am very happy that my life is what it is now. And I do see my plastic surgeon on Tuesday morning, and we are just going to celebrate a little bit. So thank you, Justine, for all this opportunity.
Yes, thank you. So Anne will be teaching a gyrokinesis class on the Monday the 10th. Sunday. Sunday the 10th. And then we will also, I'm going to be chatting with Lisa Marie next. So we'll have one more wonderful gyrotonic expert sharing their journey, and then a couple patients and a physical therapist. So, all right. Thank you so much again. And I will see you soon.